Hello, my name is Mike Tadone, and I'm a Jesuit in formation, currently living in the Della Strada Community in Spokane, Washington. It's November, the month in which Catholics around the world keep in mind those who have gone before us in faith. We especially pray this month for those who have died, keeping the Easter candle lit at Mass in their remembrance, and as a sign of our prayers that God welcomes them into His peace. In honor of All Saints and All Souls Day, today I've asked some of my brothers to help us reflect on the heavenly court. As Jesuits, we make our vows during Mass, after the Eucharistic prayer and before receiving Holy Communion. As the celebrant holds the host, we profess our vows before the Blessed Virgin Mary and the entire heavenly court. We remember that as the Eucharistic prayer begins, we join with all the angels and saints in praising God, and that remain with us, united as one body in Christ. This is the heavenly court that Ignatius had in mind when he composed our Vow Formula. It's not a courtroom like we might think of one today, but a more medieval vision of a royal court. As Jesuits profess and renew our vows, we recognize our spiritual community present with us. With these days of November remembrance in mind, let's hear who some of my brother Jesuits imagine to be with them. As you listen, consider reflecting on who is surrounding you as part of the cloud of witnesses. If you feel moved to do so, feel free to write in the comments those loved ones who have passed away that you would like us to hold in prayer this month of November at our daily Mass.
Well, I think of so many Jesuits that are buried up at Mount St. Michael Cemetery, not too far from here, 5 miles. And the longer I've been in the society, the more that grows. So I've been in the society since 1962. And a lot of them, a classmate named Peter Davis, a good friend who just died last November, Pat Howell, Bill Hausman, R.B. Lemieux, who had been our rector in First Studies. Gosh, the list can go on and on. But I think of some of the lay brothers too. Fenton Milia, who was our cook in the novitiate. And I think of Jesuits who were Jesuits that left. And then another really good friend, he got AIDS while he was in the society, and we were closest of friends. And his whole story and is about redemption. And he witnessed to God's absolute love and mercy for him in a way that was startling. I think of Ignacio de Posadas, who was from Uruguay, and he too left the society, but I always felt they were brothers. Some of the Canadian Jesuits who I was close to, some of the California men. Oh gosh, I have to think of my parents, of course, my mom and dad. And 2 of my brothers have died already, and I would want them to be at the party, as it were. My oldest sister, I have a couple of cousins that have died. And then I think of all the parishioners. I've been a pastor of 4 parishes, so just the other night I was just looking at an old journal, and I realized I had already done 95 funerals in this one parish at a certain time. I've done a lot of funerals, and some people I was very, very close to. I helped start a large community in Tacoma, and some of those early residents have died, and I would welcome to be with them. And I worked on a Skid Road parish in Portland, and certainly people that entered my life and then I never knew what happened to them. And I would say, won't it be great when we have the big in gathering and we can there'll be no more tears, no more sorrow, no more death.
A number of Jesuits living, and Paul Crowley, and most recently Robert Walsh, and good friends I've known. But I also would pick my mother's brother, who was killed in World War I. I find myself praying for him and for her family very, very often. I was very moved by the mode of his death, from what she related. Very courageous man, 21 years old, tank driver in northern France in World War I. And frankly, the flamethrowers which the Kaiser's soldiers used just burnt him alive, but he would not leave the tank. He kept going. At least this is what my mother tells me that the family legacy was, or lore was. And I've always wanted to meet him. But I'd also like to have John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila, Teresa of Lisieux, Elizabeth of the Trinity. Those are people who mean a great deal to me. Bernard of Clairvaux, and many of those of the Trappists whom I've known over the years, who have been extraordinarily important for me in my life with God. And certainly my own family, and and the Jesuits whom I mentioned, and others whom, Michael Buckley, and people who have been very influential. But I would like those people there as well, because they have in so many cases pointed me in the direction of a relationship with God which was based on a kind of sense of interiority which is certainly present in Ignatian spirituality, Jesuit spirituality, but which finds a very beautiful, specific articulation in their writings.
I think, of course, the heavenly court, Jesus and Mary, the Father, surrounding me. I've got that feeling all the time these days. But alongside them, my family, of course. I have a mom and dad, a sister, grandparents who have always felt like, the grandparents and great-grandparents who've been gone a long time, but I knew them. I've always felt like they were sort of a champion of my cause in heaven, and feel like they'll be there. I want to mention Father Mike McHugh as well, who was my mentor, and he was the pastor of my parish when I became Catholic, and inspired me to enter the society along with the other Jesuits there in Montana. And I think those are the ones that Ignatius, I hope, will be there and will be happy to see me. Yeah, those are the ones that I think of most in the cloud of witnesses that I'm hoping to see one day.
I work as an attorney. I work with Native Americans here in the Spokane area. I would imagine many of my clients would be there. Many of my clients whom I have worked with in the past. For me, they are saints. They are holy men and women. They're people who strive to live authentic and honest life. And I wholeheartedly believe that they will be with me in heaven. And it will be a dream come true for me if they can be there to greet me when I meet them in heaven.
I would think of the North American martyrs first, As a high schooler, I won a trip into the country and some of the shrines of the North American martyrs. So, but it was an essay contest about them, so that kind of connected me to them. Of course, I'd imagine Ignatius and Xavier was always a number 2 at that time. Francis Regis. Some of the missionaries in Japan, yeah.
Thank you for joining in our reflection. On November 5th, we'll be sharing our Jesuit heroes as we celebrate the feast of all Jesuit saints and blesseds. Until then, peace be with you and God bless.